y'all! So I'm here today to film the Q&A. Thank you for everyone who put your questions on the YouTube comments and my Instagram. For anyone who asked about peak week, I will be covering that in the next video log a week out. And then anyone who asked about reverse dieting, first I'd encourage you to watch my reverse dieting video. And also I will be tracking my reverse diet quite like I am the competition prep. So I'll be going through a lot of that, so I didn't want to kind of field any of those questions. So I picked 5 that I thought were really good, and I can't talk forever on here because YouTube won't let me do that. So I hope this answers some questions, and thank you all. This is going to be really fun. Like I love watching people's Q&A, so hopefully everyone likes watching these questions. So first question. How to properly decrease cardio but maintain body fat, body weight, if this is possible. So much like a reverse diet, when you slowly add in food in order to kind of maintain relatively where you're at, you do the same thing with cardio, except you're decreasing it. So it all depends, honestly. All the questions are going to be, it depends. But it depends on A, how long you've been doing cardio. If you've been relying on cardio as a crutch to lose weight for 3 years, don't expect to just cut that out. If you've only added it in the last 4 weeks of your prep, you're going to be fine. So it really depends on the length of time you've been doing cardio. Depends on how aggressive you had to get with your cardio. But just like anything, be smart and taper it. Kind of just slowly take it out over time and see how your body responds. The more conservative you are, the less weight and body fat you'll regain, and vice versa. I know at the end of a prep, I don't want to do cardio. I don't want to do cardio during prep, so I definitely don't want to do it after. And I've taken it out fully right away, but I will match my training intensity to kind of make up for that lack. But that's me personally. I'm probably going to try to keep a little bit of the HIIT in this time, just so I can feel better, because that initial few weeks of doing HIIT and really just getting back in shape really sucks. So I'm going to try to avoid that by not just cutting it out completely. So that's basically what you do. A, look at how long you've been doing it and for how intense, and then decrease accordingly, and really be subjective with yourself and reassess how you're doing every week or two. Question number 2, post-competition side effects. After the question was about restricting food and condiments and drinks, and this is kind of peak week related, so I'll talk more about that specifically. But as far as the post-competition rebound or any kind of effect you're going to see, you have to think of your body as something. A lot of times we just don't think of it as something that processes all these things. So when you are super extreme and you cut all these things out, and then all of a sudden you reintroduce them, your body's kind of like, whoa, what the hell's going on? It's kind of like when you eat something that you're not used to and you don't react really well to it. That's exactly the same thing. So, your body requires enzymes to break food down, and if you haven't been using those, it's not that they disappear, they're less active. So then all of a sudden you take everything out and then you just throw it back in right after the show, and it's kind of like mayhem. So what I always try to tell people, be pretty conservative, especially the week after. The first few weeks are really crucial for any kind of reverse or any kind of just side effects of the rebound you're going to see. And that's usually the hardest time. That's when you want to eat everything. I'll just take a week off, whatever. And that's really it's really hard to not do that. But that's when your body's kind of in that kind of sketchy time. So if you're someone who had to be really restrictive with your diet, you cut out a lot of things at the end, expect those kind of side effects afterwards, and the holding on to the water weight and the swelling and that kind of food baby. If you're you're eating all these new things you haven't eaten in 10, 12, 16 weeks, that should be expected. So just kind of be careful. Obviously enjoy the night after, enjoy the next week, have some meals here and there, but be smart and reintroduce things slowly. Kind of like you cut out the cardio slowly, reintroduce foods slowly, and your digestive system will thank you. Nutrient timing. So I got 2 questions related to this, and one was just general, one was during prep, basically how to optimize workouts and things like that. So for me, my nutrient timing stays relatively the same all year, but when I'm dieting and my food is lower, you don't notice it, I guess, as much. So typically my first meal is always pretty high fat, moderate protein, low carb. And then around my workouts, I try to structure more of my carbs, again, moderate protein, higher carbs. And then at the end, the last, depending on how many more meals I have, they're just kind of more balanced meals. Now, again, so if I'm prepping and my carbs are, half or a third of what they are off season, it's going to look a little bit different. So, just the amounts, but the percentages per se are pretty much the same. So for me, I always feel better if I have a high fat meal in the morning versus higher carbs, even when I train in the morning. So like I said, carbs pre-post workout. I don't do that pre-workout usually because I always have, if I'm training in the morning, my first meal is always my first meal. It's always higher fat, lower carbs. And obviously as my carbs decrease, so do the carbs at breakfast. So off season, I might be having an English muffin or a piece of toast or something like that. And then maybe, during prep, I'll only have a little bit of berries or just some veggies. I always keep it pretty high fat, eggs, coconut oil, butter, avocado, all those good stuff. And that, I feel better doing that. And then, like I said, most of your carbs around your workout time. But if your carbs are really low and you only have 10, 15 grams of carbs for a meal, that's what it's going to look like. So again, off season, you're going to see those kind of differences be more pronounced. But general rule of thumb, that's what I do. And, I have clients who tell me they like doing XYZ better. Is this okay? And I'm like, well, if it works better for you, you feel better on it, you're going to be more consistent, and therefore you're going to see better results. So I'm not here to say, oh, this is the end-all, be-all nutrient timing. There's not overwhelming evidence for anything either way. So I'm more open to try what works for you, see what you feel better with. This is what I personally do, and I found works for me. So just kind of go from there. Fourth question, refeeds during a cut. Do they stay the same or do they get smaller as you get closer? Yes, they 100% drop. I typically, it's different every prep, but a lot of times I'll have 2 refeeds per week. And so we'll call it normal days, 5 normal days, and then I'll have 2 refeed days. And those refeed days start at a certain number, and then as my food gets dropped, as I get closer to the show, my normal days get dropped as well as the refeed days. So towards the end, the refeeds don't really look much like refeeds at all, but they are in relation to my normal days. And towards the end of this diet, I actually just started peak week today, 11 days out, but how long ago was that? 10 days ago, we started a carb cycle, so I was on a 4-day, 9 days. I was on a 4-day carb cycle, so it was 4 different days, and then it would repeat. So I guess, day 1 was considered a refeed, and then it was structured like that. But sometimes, we change up how I do things, and we tried that this time, and it worked really well, so I'm happy I did that. But yes, refeeds definitely get cut because my overall calories still need to come down. Now, maybe if you're somebody who would rather have 1 big refeed day instead of 2, you could try that. And see how you feel with that. Again, it's all trial and error. It's all personal, how you respond and what you like. So, but yes, 100% cut your refeeds. If you are doing a structured refeed, if you're doing like a cheat meal or something like that, I don't know what people do for that. But for me personally, for a calculated refeed, those calories are also reduced. And last question, should you train a muscle when you're sore? This was specifically asked about training legs because she wanted to train legs more frequently, but she was feeling sore. So yes, I'm usually always sore. Some people don't really get sore after they train for a long time. I'm somebody who does, especially obviously when I'm dieting. I'm not recovering as well, so I'm going to feel, everything more. And then I'm also doing, I'm training 2, sometimes 3 times a day right now. Because if I split up my cardio sessions with moderate intensity and HIIT, so I'm not really recovering too well, so I'm definitely going to be sore. But even in the off season, I'm somebody who consistently is sore, and that's because the way that I train, I do a lot of the same movements, but I vary them just slightly, or I do variations of lifts, and I personally think that works better for me. I've talked about this, I think, a decent amount, that I'm not somebody who just does the same workouts. I don't do just the main lifts. I do variations of everything. And whether it's a different attachment where I hold my hands if I'm deadlifting off of a block, or a deficit with a band, or literally anything, I try to change at least, every week or every workout, really. So I'm usually always sore. Again, maybe there's some people who don't recover as well and you need more time. What I found is with female clients is that they can handle more volume, they can handle more training frequency, whereas a lot of times guys don't recover as well. Again, there's always outliers. There's some girls who don't recover as well, and there's some guys who recover better. So everyone's different, and you have to trial and error and see, but don't be afraid to train if you're sore. That's my take on it. You might hear it somewhere else differently, but I would say go for it, and especially something like legs. I train legs 3, sometimes a little bit, extra 4 days a week for glutes especially. So I wouldn't worry about overtraining or anything like that. So hopefully that was helpful, and those 5 questions answered everyone what you were looking for. And like I said, I'll cover peak week. I'm going to do peak week and how to tan the week before the show to get your base. And I will also be covering next week my results from testing, and because I'll be doing that 3 days out from the Tampa Pro. I'll be doing that on Wednesday. I'll be doing all the same measurements. I'll be sure to update everyone on that. Thank you for listening, and have a great week. Bye.